Welcome to Spiritual Queen's Badass Podcast. My name is Emma Mumford and I'm your host. I'm an award-winning blogger, YouTuber, life coach, badass entrepreneur, manifester and author. My mission is to awaken and to inspire women to live their best lives now and to find their purpose in life. I do this through sharing the power of law of attraction and spirituality. I hope my podcast will inspire you to raise your game and to start living your best life today. Without further ado, let's get started with this week's episode. So thank you so much, guys, for joining me for another one of my Spiritual Queen's Badass podcast. Today, I am joined by the gorgeous Melissa Boudreau, who I came across on Instagram. I actually came across her artwork to start off with from the lovely Sahara Rose, who's also been on this podcast. And from then, I actually had Melissa do some beautiful, beautiful artwork for me, which you will have seen on my Instagram. It is absolutely stunning. And then we really started chatting, and I realized that Melissa actually did Reiki. And I've wanted someone to come on and talk about Reiki for so long, because although I do it myself, I don't actually practice it professionally. And I wanted someone to come on who does Reiki a bit more than I do and can talk about the beautiful benefits of Reiki. And also what I really loved about Melissa's work is that she also is dedicated to talking about starseeds and all the amazing things about where we come from, starseeds, planetary systems. So I thought this is going to be a really interesting conversation today. So thank you so much, Melissa, for joining me.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to talk about all this stuff, and it all ties in together so beautifully with the Reiki and the starseeds. This is going to be a fun podcast.
Well, we were just having a little chat before, and even I've just learned so much from talking to Melissa for 15 minutes. So I was like, we better hit record, otherwise people aren't going to hear all of this. But if you don't know, Melissa is a mother, Reiki healer, YouTuber, artist, and yoga teacher. Her Instagram, Children of the Cosmos, is where she talks about all things spirituality, spiritual awakening, starseeds, light work, light language, yoga, and so much more. So we're going to learn lots from Melissa today. But my first question for you, hun, is when did you first spiritually awaken? What's your story?
So I don't want to take up too much time with my story. It's kind of a long one, but I'll kind of briefly describe what was happening to me. It started in 2012, which I hear is happening for a lot of people. 2012 was kind of a big marker for people to start awakening. And in 2012, I was kind of consciously unaware that I was going through an awakening, and I started getting into all these books, and I started hearing about the end of the Mayan long count calendar, and it signaled the end of an age is what I heard, and that it was the beginning of a new age. And when I heard that, I got super into researching that, and I found out that it was tied into a shift in consciousness. And from that point on, I kept buying so many books and trying to find out anything I could about this shift. And for years, I kind of forgot about all of this information, and I was unaware of what a spiritual awakening was at the time, but I didn't know I was actually going through one. And then years later, I was going through some really hard times. It was in 2016, and I was everything in my life was kind of falling apart. And I didn't know why, and I was wondering, like, what is going on with me? Like, I lived in Las Vegas, Nevada a few years ago, and I ended up having to quit my job. Unfortunately, my daughter's father ended up going to jail and being taken away from us for a year. I ended up losing my house and my car and everything, and I was kind of drowning financially, and I couldn't really stay in my house or stay in my job. And so I became very depressed. And I know a lot of people spiritually awaken from hitting rock bottom or losing a loved one or something very traumatic, And so that's why I'm very open, like, with my story, because I know a lot of people go through these things that kind of shake them into an awakening. So I started really going into a dark place. And I know if you read the Rebecca Campbell book, The Light is the New Black and Rise Sister Rise, she talks about finding your light in the darkness. So in 2016, I was definitely in my darkness and came across an article that was talking about spiritual awakenings. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And it says like everything not in alignment is going to be falling away, you know? And I was like, wow, it all makes sense now. Like that's exactly what I'm going through. And I ended up moving in back to California where I'm from, back in with my mom. And I thought it was the most horrible thing. But when I got there, I actually went into my awakening like full speed, and I started seeing angel numbers everywhere, and it ended up being like the biggest blessing. I was able to like overcome my depression and kind of just go through this whole healing phase there, like which comes when you awaken and you're healing all these things you're going through. And it's just been such a beautiful journey from there, because that was all recently and everything seems to be looking up so much, and I don't have depression anymore. I was able to find my inner light in my darkness, and now I'm able to shine that light and help others through their dark times. And that's kind of the story. It's kind of a long one, but
Well, it's interesting you say that because so many people did start feeling the shift around 2012, like you say. And for me, our stories are very, very similar. Like 2012, I kind of went into a very dark depression. And then by 2016, everything fell away and I awakened. So it's really funny that we kind of match up with years
wow,
there.
that definitely is so similar.
Definitely. So, what is Reiki and how can it benefit us?
Reiki, the word Reiki, and if you separate it into two words, Rei means universal and Ki means life energy. And there's so many different names for it. The universal life force energy, they call it prana, or in China, it's Ki or Chi. And it's kind of like the energy that flows through every living thing. And it's in the universe too. It's the universal life energy. And so Reiki is basically guided universal life force energy, is what I like to say. And when you become a Reiki practitioner, your channels are cleared of any obstructions so that you can become a very clear channel for this life force energy. And when we are working on somebody's energy, it's an energy healing technique. We are able to transfer that life force energy to the client or whoever's getting it. You could also do it on pets, your children. It's a healing energy. And when anyone has a low life force energy, they're more prone to illness and sickness. They may have, depression or just low energy. And so when you go in for like a Reiki session, the Reiki healer will channel the energy through her palm chakras, his or her palm chakras, and we can guide the energy from our palms to their body through the energy fields. And it promotes healing and promotes their own healing.
It is fascinating because when I trained in it, obviously I've had it done to me and I've obviously trained in it and done it to people.
Yeah.
And what I always love to ask Reiki practitioners is when you had your attunement, did you end up giving up anything? Because I gave up drinking alcohol. As soon as I had my attunement, I was repelled to it.
Really? That's so interesting. I've never heard that because I have so many friends that are Reiki healers, but I've actually never really got a chance to sit down with them and ask them like their story. And Reiki was actually one of the first things I found after my spiritual awakening, because when I quit my job, I was like, I can't really do a job that has no meaning anymore. I really want to have a spiritual job. And so I was looking for any spiritual job, and that's how I got into yoga teacher training and Reiki. And nothing really fell away after like doing Reiki for me, because everything fell away before that with
Yeah.
my awakening. But no, I have not experienced that. But I do not drink, and I like kind of don't do anything. So it's always kind of been like that for the last few years for me. But I don't know about it being from Reiki.
Well, it's interesting because the Reiki course I actually took, there was like a group where you could all kind of talk to one another, and everybody was saying how you go through this detox. It's quite well known that you go through this detox when you have your attunement. So some
Oh
people
my
have gone
gosh.
vegan, some people have given up alcohol, some people have given up smoking, some people have felt nothing, some people have, oh, it's weird. It's honestly, some people feel something, some people don't feel anything. But yeah, for me, it was alcohol. I just, as soon as I had a drink, it was just this horrid energy, this low level energy. And I just knew I could never drink it again. And I honestly, like, wouldn't even look back. So some people like have these real life changing kind of changes from Reiki just by attuning to it. And what I think is good with Reiki as well is that it's not our energy as such. So a lot of people say to me, like, can you
Yes.
do Reiki if you've had like a whole day of life coaching clients, or do you know what I mean? Like if you're tired, if you're not feeling it. But the beauty of it
Yes.
is that it is channeling that life force, the universe. It's not actually our energy. So it is really easy to do on people.
Yes, and we never become like, we never get low energy just or drained of energy from doing it, which is beautiful because a lot of other energy things that people do, they kind of afterwards are tired and drained, and that never happens with Reiki energy. So that's beautiful.
Exactly that. So my next question is, what are star seeds and how can we work out where on earth we've come from?
So a starseed to me, it's not like there's a set definition in the dictionary or anything, but from what I've learned and what I feel, a starseed is somebody who is aware of their multidimensionality, meaning they're aware that they are multidimensional and have lived lifetimes on other planets in other dimensions. They're someone who is awakening to that. If they don't already know that, they're going to awaken to it. We're having like a mass awakening happening, and a lot of star seeds are awakening to their star seed nature and finding out. A lot of people are remembering to their lifetimes on other planets, or they have some ET experiences. And that's just how I like to define it, because everyone is a star seed essentially. All of us, every single soul has lived other lifetimes in other dimensions and planets. It's not like they've just lived on Earth, but star seeds become aware of it in this lifetime.
And what are examples of the different planets we can come from?
So there's some common ones. I know you asked how could you find out where you're from.
Mhm.
I will do that first, and then I will tell you the different locations that I have heard of. But for me personally, I found out the different places that I was from synchronicities. I would find these books that I was attracted to that were channeled information, such as from the Pleiades, and I just felt really connected. When I would read these books, I would start crying, and I was like, oh my gosh, there has to be something there. So I started getting really into wanting to find out about my past lives. And in a synchronistic way, a soul sister of mine messaged me, and she said, there's this amazing girl who does starseed past life readings. And I ended up doing a reading with her. Her name is Erica, and on Instagram, her name is Crystalline Codes, and she ended up confirming every single starseed location that I had already intuitively felt in my soul, because you can be from multiple places, multiple star systems. So when she told me that, I started crying, and I was like, I've always felt a connection to these places. Like she said, Antares, the Pleiades, Hades, Pegasus, Sirius. There's so many. So you can also, if you are interested, like if this information resonates with you and you really want to find out what place you're from, I've heard that you can go outside and just look up at the stars and see what constellation or what specific star that you're drawn to. And most likely, the one that you are magnetically pulled to look at is the one that you are from, or one of the ones that you're from, because we all have multiple places that we've lived. But you could also do quantum healing hypnosis technique, which is a Dolores Cannon method of, you kind of do like a past life regression almost, and you can do that. She has many practitioners that practice that and can tell you your past lives. She has a beautiful book called The Three Waves of Volunteers, where over her 20 or 40 years of work doing this quantum healing hypnosis technique, she found all these souls that were not having past lives on Earth. They were having past lives all over the galaxy and in other galaxies. And she calls starseeds the three waves of volunteers. So you can do quantum hypnosis healing technique. You can get a past life reading. You can intuitively find out by going in meditation. There's so many ways. But you might start having synchronicities telling you already too. And some of the different star systems that you can be from, they have the Pleiades, Sirius, Antares, Hades. There's some well-known ones and some not so well-known ones. There
Absolutely
Andromeda, which is not in this galaxy. There's Arcturian. There's literally so many, but there are some common ones that people kind of feel. Orion, so many.
brilliant. And what is the best way that we can connect to our starseed nature once we have kind of maybe found a connection to a certain planet?
For me, it's been reading channeled books from the certain star system. So I have so many channeled books, and some are from the Pleiades, some are from the Hathors. Also, the best way to do it is in meditation. And I found out, like, through synchronicities, that I have a connection to Lyra. And so I've been having connections with like the Lyran feline beings. And so I connect through meditation, and I kind of call in like the different energies and try to see if I feel anything different. But mostly for me, just like with my awakening, it's been through books and just researching the information, reading about it. And when you feel something in your soul, like that you're connecting with a certain star system, that means that there's something there. And then you can further that connection by meditating and setting an intention to connect more with them. And also, another way that I've recently been connecting with different star systems is through my light language, which is the universal language of love. And it's super interesting. I know a lot of people don't know what it is, but you can connect to your different star families through channeling light language, which is just another way of channeling. And it's kind of like an energy that comes through you and you start speaking, and usually it is from the star systems that you are connected to.
Brilliant. So, a question I actually asked you before we started recording, which I think people would love to hear, is obviously a lot of us hear about, spiritual beings. So, whether you connect to like the fairy realm, whether you connect to the angelic realm, whether unicorns, mermaids, etc., like we hear that quite often. And I said to you, what is the difference between connecting to beings like that and then obviously Palladians, Syrians, etc.?
Yes. So it's interesting. It's all tied together and connected. Like I was saying when we were speaking before, that we all, well, what I believe and what I feel resonates with me in my soul is we all come from source energy and source consciousness, and we are all one. But when we come from source energy, our soul has also lived in, like I said, multiple dimensions, multiple planets, and we have had other lifetimes in different places. And that includes ancient civilizations that many people have been hearing of, that such as Atlantis, Avalon, Lemuria, and those energies are very prominent in places like that. So if you're feeling a connection to mermaids, dolphins, fairies, a lot of that energy was in Lemuria, which was a fifth dimensional civilization. And so also there's planets, like I was saying when I did my reading for my daughter, my starseed reading, there's planets like Apollonia, where there are unicorn and fairy energy, and it's like a magical realm. So if you're feeling that connection, it could be from multiple different places. If you feel like you have a connection with Lemuria, Avalon, those had that mermaid energy, fairy energy, or it could be from a different planet, depending on where you feel connected to. So there's kind of different places where that energy has been located. But what's beautiful is um, lately people have been connecting with that energy here on earth, and there's certain places you could go, like such as in waterfalls, just nature, moss, where you can kind of connect to elementals. And I actually had that experience in Mount Shasta. When you go to certain places like that, like energy vortices, the veil is kind of thin between the spirit realm and our realm, and you can kind of connect. I call them elementals, where it's like elves, gnomes, nature elementals, fairies. So it's pretty interesting stuff.
Well, it's interesting when you spoke about your experience about going to, where you said, and in the UK where I live, we've got Glastonbury only an hour away, which is the heart chakra
Oh
where Avalon
yes.
is. And the energy is just, I mean, it's undescribable, literally. Like, I love going to Glastonbury, and I don't know, it feels like something unlocks in me every time I go.
Uh-huh. Yes, exactly. So when we're going to these certain points that we feel drawn to, it's helping us remember our past lives in these places, and it really does activate you a lot. It activates the DNA and the ancient like memories inside your DNA so that you can further remember your connection with these different places. And I definitely have been feeling a connection to go to Mount Shasta more in ancient Egypt, and it's because of my past lives in those places. So when you do go back, it's like you feel a familiar energy, and it's like I've been here before. This feels familiar, and it's usually you get so many downloads when you're there, and so many codes are activated in your DNA because you're remembering. It's so beautiful.
Definitely. So my last question is, what is one piece of life advice that you would give to my listeners?
This was my favorite question because recently I've been making so many YouTube videos about like certain subjects. And when you ask that question, they all kind of aligned with the videos I've been making. So, my advice to anyone on their spiritual journey, or even if you're not on a spiritual journey yet, to be yourself, be authentic and true to your soul, express your light fearlessly without fear of judgment from others. Shine your unique, authentic, beautiful light within. And that is like a domino effect when you do that, when you find that inside yourself and you inspire others to find it inside their self. And it's a beautiful thing. So that is my piece of advice. And to follow your heart, always follow your heart.
Oh, I love that. Beautiful. Well, it's been so amazing speaking to you, Melissa, and learning all about star seeds. Like, I've taken away so much from this already, and I'm going to go and have a little research of where I think I'm from. And I'm certain this will help so many people who've also been asking those same questions, and also like how Reiki is kind of, connected to star seeds and what on earth Reiki can do for us. So, thank you so much for coming on.
Yes, thank you so much for having me. This was such a fun podcast interview. Thank you
So,
so much.
so where can my lovely followers find you online as well if they want to come and find your work?
If you want to find me online, you can go to my Instagram. It's Children of the Cosmos. And then I also do YouTube videos, and my YouTube name is Children of the Cosmos also.
Brilliant. And also, what's your art Instagram as well? Because I want everyone to go and check that out.
Oh, yes, thank you. My art Instagram is called A Cosmic Collection on Instagram also.
Perfect. Well, I'm sure we'll be hearing much more from you. What is next for you?
For me, next is doing retreats, women's retreats. I've been getting together with a few of my girlfriends, and we really want to host retreats in Mount Shasta and in Egypt one day soon, and kind of create a safe space for people to come and connect and have like a sisterhood and a beautiful connection with these retreats. So that is the next step for me right now.
I love it. Well, a great manifestation. I can't wait to see them happen. I'll come along to the Egypt one for sure because I've always wanted to
Yes,
visit.
it'll be beautiful.
Well, thank you so much, Melissa, for coming on.
Thank you for having me.
So thank you so much, guys, for listening to another one of my podcast episodes. I hope you've really enjoyed Melissa and I's conversation today. As always, you can find more about myself and my life coaching over on my website, emmamumford.co.uk. And as always, you can join my free Law of Attraction support group over on Facebook, where we talk all things spirituality and Law of Attraction. I hope you have a fantastic week, whatever you are up to. Sending you all lots of love.